It's the Bobby Bones Show.
The most fun you'll have in the morning.
Who do you love from Idol?
I love Scotty.
I'm a little nervous about this one, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Start spreading the news.
You said you're good for whatever?
Whatever you want.
Social security number.
69, 69, 69,
Don't do it,
69.
Okay, 69, 69, 69.
Yeah, 69.
We'll start here because I feel like this is going to be the best point for us to kind of connect, and it's not what you think. Woo pig.
That doesn't feel right coming from you. I don't know. Nobody up here says that's like a different language up here.
So my dad went to the University of Arkansas, and he's from Springdale.
You get to say that then.
Yeah, and he played basketball under Eddie Sutton.
Really?
With Sidney Moncrief.
Wow, with like the triplets, with like all that time. That's crazy. Your dad played on that basketball team?
He redshirted, but yeah, he was
Who cares?
there for it. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's when I first learned about the enigma that is Bobby Bones.
There is no enigma.
Years ago. And I mean that in the most complimentary way. When I learned that you were an Arkansas guy, that's my family. You know, I'm not from there personally, but I've always connected to it. And
yeah, if your parents are from there, there's something very personal. And nobody up here says "woo pig." That's why it sounds like Mandarin coming from you. Yeah.
Listen, man, I got to shock you somehow right out of the gate, right? Let's stay in the University of Arkansas vein for a second. Dr. Bones.
Sounds like a crime-fighting, like pediatric nurse or something. You know,
crime-fighting pediatric nurse. If that's not already on True TV, I think it needs to be soon.
That was really cool for me. First person in my family to graduate high school, so I was pumped about that.
Yeah.
And then I started working at 17, 18 in this weird business. And so I started doing radio then. So I went to college in Southern Arkansas, but I always wanted to go to the University of Arkansas, but I couldn't because I had a job.
Yeah.
And so I had a job doing what I wanted to do. And even though it was at a very small station in Arkansas, I went to Henderson State University. But my love and loyalty and money, once I started to make any, was going to the University of Arkansas. Yeah. And when they called and they said, "Hey, we want to give you an honorary doctorate."
It's crazy.
It's great. No, it's insane.
I mean that in the best way, but that's got to be the coolest feeling in the world.
It was, and they had me speak at graduation, and like I got a little teary-eyed.
You know, I trained for a couple different triathlons, and I hate running. It's the worst. Golly.
Just because I think if I were able to see that at 14 or 15 years old, like that would have been cool to me as a kid to see me do that. So there are those moments like that where I have a problem enjoying things in the moment because I have this, it's not going to last forever, trauma type stuff. But like I love looking back at it. That's a real special thing for me. That's like top 10 moment of my life, I think.
So let's put 4 in a Mount Rushmore category. Which one stands out? Is it the honorary doctorate? Is it the youngest ever inductee to the Radio Hall of Fame? Dance with the Stars winner.
The winners and new champions of Dancing with the Stars are Bobby and Sharna.
Or New York Times bestseller.
Well, when I say New York Times bestseller, people give me respect. That's cool. That one's cool because
that one you can kind of mic drop it, even if they don't know the facts. Yeah.
I know, especially when I hit him with the 2-time New York Times bestseller.
No big deal.
That's the cool one. I don't flex that one very often. Even when they're like, write a bio, I don't really add it unless there's like a bunch of people like acting like they're better than me. And then I'm like,
hey, you got books on New York Times?
Yeah.
List?
Yeah. How about you guys? You guys have 2.
Yeah.
So that one's really cool. I would still say the honorary doctorate, honestly, because that
one's for little Bobby.
That state means a lot to me. And it's not so much like the borders of the state in it, but it's like the people that grow up there aren't told that they can do anything because nobody else really does it, especially like in my field. It's not that I was told I couldn't do it, but I think that's such an impoverished area that I come from that people are just trying to survive more so than thrive. And no one thrives, so you don't even know that's an option. So I'm proud that was able to happen. So I would go doctorate.
Okay.
Man, I got to be honest. I probably put Dancing with the Stars second.
Really?
I never watched the show.
My mom would be thrilled.
Most moms
are.
I can always tell when someone knows me from that show.
Yeah.
There's like a different look to what.
If they know you from the radio versus from TV.
And the Dancing with the Stars, this is a definite older female, doesn't listen to the radio show, but like loved me on their favorite dance show.
Yeah.
That was fun. The reason I put that second, not because it was a TV show or I had no idea how to dance.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to dance. But when Vegas put the odds out, I was dead last.
Is that like the weirdest feeling ever?
It's
when
weird.
Vegas is literally betting for or against you.
I was dead last, and I was on American Idol at the time. I did 4 years on that show, being like the head mentor, working with the contestants every episode. And so that to me was cool. That was never supposed to happen. But so they sent me over to Dancing with the Stars just to do promo for Idol. And I remember the vice president of Non-Scripted saying, hey, look, you'll last like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Nobody that has never danced wins the show. And I remember thinking, I'm going to kill myself trying to win this show. Not because he said that, but just because that's how I am.
have to do it.
So winning that show was really cool to me, not because it was that show specifically, but because it was something I had no background in, and I had to figure out a way to, just like in the media world, I had to figure out a way to do it differently in order to cut through. I didn't know the rules. I trained so hard. I did the legal amount that we could do, plus I rented a studio by myself and would like dance weirdly, like I was dancing with an invisible man, like an imaginary friend. I would dance
like
at
your
night.
own private dance studio.
I would do the radio show. I would tour, and winning that show to me was basically something that most people felt that couldn't be done by somebody that had never done it before. So that was cool to me. So I put that second. I'd probably put the books third, and then what was the fourth? Radio Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really cool. That's really cool. But the mirror ball was cool because of what it represented.
Sure. We'll move on from Dancing with the Stars, but my mom would kill me if I didn't ask. Was there a certain dance that stands out to you that you're like, damn, that was the really hard one?
So the slow ones oddly were harder because you're not doing as many moves, and if you mess up, you see it more. So when we're doing like these slow, the only time my partner and I, well, she wanted to kill me, was we were doing like week 2, and I have no history in dance. I'm probably saying the names of these dances wrong, but it was like a slow waltz, and it was to New York, New York.
Sure.
We're doing, and I know that what I was doing on that stage was not translating into anything that people was going to remember because I wasn't dancing wonderfully. The song wasn't fast. And so at the very end, I broke out into doing the floss during the dance. But at the very end.
That kid dance?
I'm confused. Sharna, was that choreography at the end?
No,
Was that a little freestyle?
that wasn't mine. That was all him.
I was feeling it in my heart. I was feeling it. I knew Lynn would love it.
I worked as hard as I could on getting it, and then I flossed, and my partner wanted to kill me. She wouldn't talk to me in the press line. Wow. She was
Like genuinely
She
mad.
was so pissed.
Wow.
But it was the best moment for us because I explained to her, hey, look, I'm going to work as hard as I can the way you're teaching me. No one's going to train harder than me. But you've got to let me do my thing too or we're not going to win.
Yeah.
And so
You're an entertainer.
I think that was when she realized, because Sharna had finished second many times with great dancers, the Backstreet Boy, professional football player, but she
Right.
had never won.
So you break out the floss, and she's like, well, there goes this season.
She's like, oh, yeah, he's taking, and also he's making a joke out of it, which I wasn't. I was like, I got to do something to be remembered
Right.
during this. So the slow dances were oddly the hardest. I like the fast athletic dances. Like we would do jives where you're jumping and kicking, and like I like that because I could still be a little bit of an athlete there.
To speak on, I believe that you said, and I don't want to misquote, but you won in a way that, quote unquote, you weren't supposed to. Because, you publicized yourself on your show, and your fan base was very loyal, as they should be. And speaking on Arkansas, which, as you said, is a state where people aren't necessarily told they can do anything. How long into your career did it take you before you could look in the mirror and be like, okay, I'm kind of here. I'm not going to stop yet, but I'm kind of here right now.
I think probably at when I moved to Little Rock, that was the big city to me.
Yeah.
And I remember moving to Little Rock, and I got in a lot of trouble because we had a competing top 40 station.
I heard the story.
And we broke in.
You go across the street to a radio station.
But they
you don't
screwed
work
us
for it.
first. They screwed us first.
Okay, all right. They shots fired first.
They put stickers on our van, so we figured out a way to get into their station, and I taught my guy how to run their board. We took over their airwaves. Got in a lot of trouble.
Which, by the way, the FCC has laws against to some degree.
For sure. Yeah, we for sure. But I think when that happened, and I ended up going to Austin right after that, I think I kind of thought to myself, I think the world's kind of bendable, meaning it'll kind of do what I want it to do if I push on it hard enough.
Yeah.
And so that's when because I'm not naturally skilled. I don't have a great voice. I speak I have a speech pattern that's not great. Nothing I do should have led to a successful career in broadcasting. But I kind of realized at 2021 when that happened that we're learning that the world is so regimented, but it really doesn't have to be. I mean, even my career now, I'm trying things, and I fail all the time, but like I've pivoted part of my career now to doing sports just because, like, screw it, I'm gonna do sports.
Yeah.
You stayed square, moved your feet pretty well. I'd still give you a 7 though.
Okay, 70%. That's a C. I'll take it. 1-0. That's it. I just said screw it. I'm gonna do sports, and I just 1 inch at a time. I've slowly started to build this out. But I firmly believe the world is bendable, and you can make it what you want to make it if you put enough time and dedication and sacrifice into it.
Radio DJ first, and then in no particular order, TV show host, mentor, philanthropist, author, musician.
Roughly, I'm not a musician. I play a little bit.
I saw you play earlier,
I
man.
play a little bit, but when you're in Nashville, it's tough to call yourself a musician.
Do you ever struggle, or did you ever struggle with being the quintessential radio DJ and put in that box when you knew you wanted to do something?
No, I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where people will be, first of all, to me, radio is anything coming from my phone, right? Like, but I think I have a different version in my head of it because I do so much audio.
Mm-hmm.
I do live. I do the podcast. I do secondary. I do a sports podcast. I do an interview podcast, you know? So there are all these audio forms. And to me, that is what radio is now. It's any sort of audio. And sometimes if it's just like, yeah, he hosts a radio show, and I'm like, I don't think they're given like the medium the respect that it deserves.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get irritated at that because it is the most intimate. If someone's listening to this right now,
Right.
they are not passively listening. They have chosen to listen to this. They are dedicating their attention to that is absolute currency. And so at times I do feel like it's bothersome when people devalue the medium.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with uneducated people who are describing it. So yeah, I try not to let it bother me, but I can tell sometimes people will talk down about it, and that's when it bothers me.
I've noticed for a while, because I'm someone that was in radio and I quit and I came back to it. And the biggest issue when I kind of really went to therapy and talked about it was that radio has a perception problem, but not even listeners, people that work in it have a perception problem of what radio is, and they devalue it, to your point. What continues you with that magic spark? You're going, okay, no, this is the most intimate way. When everyone says, okay, but like, let's say podcast instead, let's use that word instead, or let's use audio on demand.
You know what I do sometimes if it's somebody that I'm really struggling, like if it's a network executive at television, and I love to do audio, radio more than I love to do television because television's a lot of standing around. But I'll call it a live podcast, just whatever they need to hear. We're like, yeah, well, if they're just so fascinated with the world of okay, cool. So we do our live podcast for 5 hours here. It does not matter to me
What it's phrased as.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's all semantics. However, I also know that what's going to move any needle is the relationship I have with non-passive listening, because we all have shows that we listen to and we feel like they're our friends.
Yeah.
We never met them. Like I listen to Pardon My Take. It's a sports show, Big Cat and PMT. I've never met them. They do not know who I am. They are my best friends. And I cannot wait to hear every episode Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Shout out to Barstool.
Yeah, cannot wait.
Yeah.
And I just we played a couple songs down below, and people will say that to me, like, you don't know me, but I feel like you're my best friend. And I'm not weirded out by that because I feel that way too.
You get it, yeah.
But that's also where I've been able to build my success is even on a show like Dancing with the Stars, as goofy as it is, they don't tell you anything while the show's going on how you're doing. You have no idea. After it was over, that same vice president came and said, hey, listen, man, you could have used the bathroom on the floor and won. Because those are my people.
Yeah.
For
you,
the
man.
time, they have elected me as one of their leaders, and they had my back. And so this medium is by far what moves the needle the most. It's hard to get people to be dedicated to yours because there are so many out there now. But if you can, like, this is the best.
You have a very strong earned listener base. Do you feel that intensified in your head, or you understood it more after doing Dance with the Stars and really seeing the vote put to action? Or was it, these are my people?
I think the first time that I realized like it would really translate, I did an episode of Running Wild with Bear Grylls.
It's super slick and scary. So, I think we're gonna need the rope for this.
And we went to Norway, and that is an adventure show, and I'm not.
That sentence in of itself, by the way.
I'm good
You're
on
still
adventure.
sitting here. That's incredible.
I'm all good on adventure. I don't need adventure.
Right.
And they were like, hey, go do Bear Grylls. And so I was like, cool. So I fly to Norway. I do the show. I think I almost died 11 times.
Oh my God.
It's a great experience, and they did, I think, 8 episodes. And of all 8 episodes, and what I want to brag about here is the power of audio.
Mm-hmm.
Of all 8 episodes, and they had major stars. Mine was the highest rated because I told my people, I'm going to be here on this show. It was so highly rated, they said, we want to give you your own show.
Yeah.
And so, just from that one episode. So the next year, as we were developing the show before we actually did it, they said, come and do another episode of Bear Grylls. And there had only ever been one person do 2 episodes, and it was Channing Tatum. And we looked just alike with our shirt off. And I was like, let's get it. So I took at the time, she was my fiance, and she has no interest in being on television, hates public life, posts on Instagram once every 4 months.
Yeah.
And she had been in some therapy that day, and it was good for me because the therapist was like, hey, if you're going to have to suffer from the negativity of the line, you should do some positive stuff with it. Caught her on the right day. And I was like, come do this show, because I've already told my story on the show. So her and I, we go into the mountains, and we do a second episode with Bear Grylls. Same thing. It rated really well. So we did Breaking Bobby Bones. It was my series on Nat Geo.
Yep.
And that was only because my episode of Bear Grylls rated so high. And it was only because, it wasn't because the episode or I was great on it. It was because my people were there, and they moved with me.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's when I started to go, oh, we can, this calcifies. But it's also calcified in ways that we've built 9 homes for different members of the military. Just my listeners being like, hey, let's do this. Boom. We built 9 different houses. It's not just about me on TV,
right,
but it's,
the power of what you can do
absolutely.
With that. Yeah.
Been able to, raise $23 million for St. Jude. All that stuff is audio, and people feeling like you're their friend, just like I feel like I have friends that have never met me before.
Yeah. You mentioned your fiance, now wife. Tomorrow is your 3-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's not exactly a secret that this isn't an easy industry to date in, especially when you're building something. So if you don't mind a little bit of personal advice, could I ask you of?
Yeah, you can ask me, or you can tell me, whatever you want.
At what point or how, or did you even know a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to focus on dating right now with as much that's going on in your life?
Well, here's the real story. I never got girls. Never.
Okay.
You're way better looking than I am.
Oh my God, that's the only clip I need. We'll just cut that out right there. He's lying, but I'll take it.
I was like 20. I never had any girls. And then when I finally got girls, I was like, why all of a sudden do I have all these girls? And it was like, success had hit. Sure. And I was like, well, now I don't want them because they only want me because I have success. And I went through this weird Groucho Marx, I don't want to be a part of any club that'll have me type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I already have trust issues. And this is why my wife is such a baller. And I'll follow this story with one other one. But so my PR person in California was from Oklahoma. And so she did American Idol with me for 4 years, and she did Dancing with the Stars. But she was the only normal person out in LA.
Right.
She was not Hollywood. And the night I went back after I'd won because Lauren Elena, who's a country singer, was on, and I wanted to go support her. And so I went back. And so some people didn't fill seats. And so she had to call her friends to fill the seats on that show. She brings my wife to fill the seats. My wife didn't know anything about Dancing with the Stars. So I'm seeing my friend, and she has my future wife there. And we met for a second. That was it.
Yeah.
But I DM'd her 2 months later. And I was like, hey, we met. Because my friend Callie tagged us both in a picture.
Got it.
So I DM'd her. I was like, hey, we met. I'm coming to town. Let's go on a date, whatever. She didn't think we were going on a date. So
did you say whatever?
Probably not. I probably said something real lame. But we go, and I was just completely smitten. If this is the 30s, that's the word I would use. But my wife, she was cool. But she's from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. She had finished college. I was working in oil and gas, was doing international coding technology with oil and gas. I don't even know, right? Yeah. I don't even know. It's some computer software stuff. And so she decided she wanted to go back and get her master's. And so she was doing that. And we started dating, and I was an idiot. And I was like, how do I know that you're not dating me and I was so stupid. I was like, how do I not dating me for the wrong reasons? Man, she kicked me right in the balls. She said in the best way, she goes, you know what? You should look at my DMs, and you'll see a lot of people that are actually really famous. And if that's what I was looking for,
well,
that's what I would be looking for.
Mic drop.
Big time. Yeah. And it was from that moment I was like, yeah, she doesn't really
the
That's
voice
not
go
her thing.
away like in that moment?
That voice went away because it was like, yeah, everything I was scared of. She was like, if that's what I wanted, why don't you go through my DMs and see like what, if I wanted that, I would do that here and not fly back and forth to Nashville. And so I was like, man, that's so legit. And it's been that way because it's a good balance. But like we played, I played in the All-Star, the Major League Baseball All-Star game is happening in Texas as we record this.
Yeah.
And they have a celebrity All-Star game. And they invited me this year. And I was like, man, that's cool. So I go and I play in it. And this is like 2 nights ago. And I won the MVP of the whole game, which was crazy. Like T.O., Des Bryant, all these athletes, Pedro Martinez. And so I called my wife because we were going home after the game. I said, I won the MVP because we were traveling and she didn't go to the game.
Sure.
And she was like, that's cool. Will you make sure the dogs are put up whenever you get home? And so she like respects it. And sometimes I wish it was, but I'm glad that that's not her thing.
Yeah.
Because it does, helps me learn what priorities are with actual humans, which I never really had because I really didn't have a human support system. But to me, she's that, and that is so her. She loves me so much. She doesn't really, she's happy that I'm happy, but she wants to make sure the dogs are put up, and then she loves me as a person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool that you got MVP. Please make sure that we take care of our home first, you know.
She was like, yeah, make sure the dogs are home.
Yeah.
That's cool. You got the trophy and stuff, and we'll talk about it, I guess, but make sure the dogs
You
are
can show
good.
it off after
Yes.
you do your chores, yes.
So that, to me, I didn't like it right when she said that because I was like, I want to, but I love it that she said that because, like, that's my normal life.
That's what grounds you.
And all of this is, people are fickle, industry.
Mm-hmm.
People will hire you, fire you. You have no control over a lot of it. People love you. You may say something, get canceled. But the one thing that I know I have for the first time in my life, because I had no consistency ever, is her. And that put the dogs up. Like, that solidifies that again and again and again.
This is 2 days ago, too.
And that's just 2 days ago, yeah.
Speaking of a support system, you work with people that you are lucky enough to not only call talents in the industry, but friends. How do you select who you want to work with? Because, you know, we've heard the stories of how you met Amy versus, Eddie and Mike D. What quality in a person makes you go, that's someone I want to work with?
Just somebody I like to be around.
Yeah.
Sometimes revisionist history, people will say, oh, wow, you had this all planned out to bring your friends and have this local show and turn it into something. We had no money. Mm-hmm. That's why I brought my friends in. It wasn't that I was some genius and I was like, I have found a way. I was making nothing and I could pay them nothing. So if I want someone to come in, I'm going to call my friends because they'll come do it for free or just to hang out. So that was really what happened with 95% of my crew. Yeah, I knew Amy. I met her at a Culver's restaurant. And I thought she was really interesting. And we were friends before. Eddie, he worked in the news, the local news in the town. I tried to get him to come to the radio show for years. He was like, nah, don't want to do it. Don't want to wake up that early. Mike D was an intern for me. He messaged me on MySpace when I was like 22 years old and was like, how do I do this?
Talk about putting a date stamp on something, by the way.
Yeah. No,
My
true.
MySpace page. What was your MySpace song? Do you remember?
I got hacked so many times that thing. I don't even know. But it's like I like to be around people that make me feel comfortable and free.
Sure.
And as long as they show up on time, which they all do now, that's awesome because I need to be the best version of me. And I can't be the best version of me if I don't have the best version of my system around me. And so no genius idea to only put my friends in who've never had experience. It was a necessity just to have people in the room, but it's really turned for us into something wonderful.
Something very special and inspirational.
There's a line too. I have to be boss and friend.
Yeah.
But like Eddie's my best friend in life. But for like 6 hours a day, I'm Eddie's boss. Mm-hmm. But we have definitely figured out that line and where it is, and that makes life so much easier. We travel together so much.
Yeah. How hard was it for you to find that line between boss and friend?
Just weird at first.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't like for people to be like, oh, I don't like to be led with the good news, be given the bad. Mm-hmm. Ever. I like, just tell me what you're going to tell me so I can feel the pain.
Sure.
Because it hurts. It always hurts. When somebody tells you something's not good, it always hurts. But I'd rather go ahead and have it and get it over with instead of say 3 things nice before you say 1 thing bad. Because then if anybody ever says anything nice, I'm like, well, when's the bad thing coming? And sometimes there is no bad thing, but I'm so focused on what the negative thing is. So my communication style that I like for me and that I like for my employees is absolute direct. because it sucks when things aren't going right, but it sucks a lot quicker to be over.
Sure.
Makes no sense, but you get it.
I'm following. Yeah.
So it's efficiency too.
Is there anyone that you've met in the industry in your year or two of doing this that you maybe fumbled the introduction? Let me explain. So you were very kind and reached out to me last week, and you DM'd me, "Hey man, I hear we're working together."
Yeah, you didn't respond for it. I was like, all right, well.
Well, no. So
I guess he thinks I'm a douche. All right.
I double texted Bobby Bones because I was nervous.
Oh, yeah.
So you're gonna immediately shoot this down, but you are a legend in the radio world, and it's someone that I've respected for a very long time. You might not remember this, but there was a station in Chicago, Big 95.5, that when you were the mornings, I was the night show on, and so you're someone I've always wanted to talk to. And so when that TM came through, I was on the phone with a mutual friend of ours, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play it cool. I'm going to be like, yeah, man, I'll see you there.
You played it real cool.
Well, too cool, dude.
So cool. I mean, Vanilla Ice cold.
Two hours later, I read that. I'm like, I look like a douche.
No, I was like, man.
Oh, my God. So then I sent the immediate, like, hey, man, I'm a big fan. I'm so sorry. Hopefully that didn't come off short. And I was immediately embarrassed. So please mercifully give me some sort of a morsel of a story. Did you ever do that with anyone else?
I mean, I probably...
You're being very compassionate right now.
I'm sure I've done that with a whole lot of people. I mean, tone's tough, right? Especially when it's written. Tone, and by the way, I was like, man, I guess this didn't, because it said red, and I was like, man, he didn't respond for like 2 hours. Like
I knew it. This is my worst nightmare coming to life right now.
It was like he read it, and I was like, well, maybe he's changed his mind and doesn't want to do something together. So, but then it came through, and I was like, okay, cool, it's all good. But But again, I'm so insecure that I thought
I am too. So that's
right.
why I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, two worlds colliding.
Right.
I have probably done it a million times, but texting and tone, not my forte.
Sure.
Because I'm also very direct, and sometimes it's 3 or 4 words a sentence. Emails, I'm not good with tone.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I feel a certain way. I don't really do like, hey, how's it going? Then the body of the message. I'm just like, here's the body of the message, send. I'm sure that's happened many times. But I don't even really do interviews in text anymore because tone can really be taken the way the reader wants to take it. And I've been burned that way a few times. But no, I thought you were way too cool for me, if you're being honest. And I've probably, the worst introduction, you mentioned Radio Hall of Fame. When they introduced me, this encapsulates my whole career.
Yeah.
They were introducing me, and it's super cool. Youngest member of the Hall of Fame. That's amazing. I'm super happy of it. But they introduced me as Bobby Jones at the Hall of Fame.
Did they really?
Yeah.
They didn't go with Bobby Z?
They didn't go with Bobby Z. They didn't even go with it. No, it was literally and Bobby Jones. And I'm like, man, this is perfect. This is exactly how my whole career has been. And they didn't do it on purpose. Yeah. But it was like, keeps you in check a little bit for sure.
Try having a first name for a last name.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, a little bit. Let's just get out of inside baseball for a second. Super Bowl. I'm always interested when there's someone so connected to the industry, right? And I want to get your opinion on who you think might play the halftime show next year for the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's a good question. The problem with the Super Bowl halftime show now is they go, and I understand because it's corporate, they go with someone very safe.
Sure.
And it's hardly ever anyone newer. And even to us, they wouldn't feel new, but to the average Super Bowl watcher, it's not like they're dialed in pop culture. So it would probably be somebody that peaked in 2007, who's still around, who had like 11 number 1 hits back in the day, and it occasionally pops up on Cameo.
Yeah.
But only for charity because they're too cool for actual real Cameo. But like, who would I guess? Like Usher was fine, Katy Perry was fine, but who would have been big back then? For sure, Chumbawamba. I'm gonna go
Tub Thumping.
Yeah, just that one song
just
over and over again.
for 13 and a half minutes.
Yeah. Yes, Super Bowl halftime show.
I'm sure Apple Music will go for that.
Like they're safe. They should be safe. And so
it's a mass audience.
Yeah, and I'm always like, they wanted it to be Lizzo last time, and then she got in trouble.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so
I saw a note or two.
Yeah. I thought it was cool when they did the hip hop guys from the 90s.
Yeah.
I thought that was legit. And I thought that was but even then, they're old to like 19-year-olds.
Right.
They're like, look at Grandpa Snoop Dogg and Dr.
50 Cent
Dre.
upside down. I don't get it.
I know. They didn't even get the reference in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be somebody safe, and I get it. I think me 10 years ago would have complained about like they suck.
Yeah.
But I understand now why they have to do that.
So if you were to just, because yes, you work in country music and you're a huge country fan, but you've also worked in pop music, you know, music in general. If you were to put together one rock artist, one hip hop artist, one country, and one pop to do a collab for the 2025 Super Bowl, not necessarily who they will pick, but who you think they should.
I probably put Kendrick Lamar.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. You think the Bay gon' let you disrespect?
I mean, he destroyed Drake. He destroyed Drake. Drake is dead. I mean, Drake is so dead. Except he just keeps making hits, but Drake is so dead. It's ugly. Like Not Like Us video. Whenever he, he's with his kid.
Yeah. It was lethal.
It was lethal.
Yeah.
So probably Drake. Kendrick. Yep. In hip hop.
Okay.
Country. I mean, the easy answer would be Morgan Wallen.
Last night we let the liquor talk. I can't remember everything we said, but we said it all.
Or Zach Bryan.
And I woke with a fever, sweating oceans again.
Because they're kind of that top tier.
I'd love to see Hardy do it.
Hardy would be cool because he has a different style.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning with a bone dry bottle of Jack Ice pouring.
But that top tier is Zach Bryan,
Sure.
Luke Combs, and Morgan Wallen.
100%.
That's the A tier. So I would say Kendrick. I'll do Luke Combs.
Sunday morning, man, she woke up fighting mad.
In the pop world, here's the thing about Sabrina Carpenter. Whenever the song came out about Sabrina Carpenter, because she stole the guy,
Olivia Rodrigo.
I was like, I hate Sabrina Carpenter forever.
Got my driver's license last week, just like we always talked about.
Really?
The driver's license came out. I was like, I hate Sabrina Carpenter. I didn't know who it was about. I was like, whoever this is, I'm
flag
never,
in the ground.
I was like, I'm never
We're
gonna.
not a Sabrina fan.
But then Espresso comes out.
Yeah, it's catchy.
Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet? I guess so.
Yeah, and then it's awesome.
And then she falls. Please.
Please, don't prove I'm right.
And it's like the radio version is like sucka, but I'm like, I know what it says. So I would go Olivia Rodrigo
Or
in the
Sabrina?
pop. No,
Sabrina?
I'll never be a Sabrina fan.
Okay, you're standing
I'm
by
out.
that.
I'm out.
Okay, I didn't realize it's a hard stance.
No, it is. It's
Okay.
hard. Although her songs are awesome. I'm out. I'm Team Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay.
The easy answer is Taylor, but I'm gonna stay off.
We're gonna go Olivia.
And then after the rock world, which is weird because the rock chart is basically like the old folks' home now. Guys, all Pearl Jam had a #1 last week.
Yeah.
It's like anybody that used to have a hit, record something,
Play
you'll
it
get
again.
your spot.
Springsteen, you're back on top.
Man, I love Coldplay. They've done it before.
Yeah.
But I like slow Coldplay, so I wouldn't allow any of this anthemic
No.
synthesizer. I'd want to like cry, and you can only play Yellow and Clocks. That would be the Coldplay that I would have if I were going to do it. Otherwise, if I'm doing a rock band, I mean, Foo Fighters are the greatest American rock band ever.
Dave Grohl would run that stage.
So I would go Foo Fighters there.
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool.
I love that. That was my one goofy, interview question I always gotta have.
I like that. I think I asked Dan Lanning today, and I asked Coach Brennan at Arizona, because we've been on the road a bunch doing our sports show, that give me your Mount Rushmore of like musical artists. I think you can learn a lot about what people love just in general. And their answers were so revealing, because Coach Brennan at Arizona, he's like Snoop Dogg, Bob Marley. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then today, Coach Lanning was like Mumford and Sons. And I think you learn a lot about somebody based on and those aren't my favorite artists,
Right.
but that's who I would build that around.
We learned that if Sabrina
Yeah.
ever opened for Drake, you will not be in attendance for that show.
I'll be in the very back with one of those pair of glasses with a mustache on it, the plastic mustache with the glass. So, I mean, I might be there. 'cause
Very
I'm in.
inconspicuous,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But I don't want anybody to know I'm there.
When was the last time you were interviewed?
Yesterday?
Really?
It's a weird life because I go from
Do you struggle being interviewed as like the interviewer?
Here's what's awesome. I know what I like to happen when I'm interviewing somebody, so I try to provide that whenever I'm being interviewed, because I know if I get a good guest that comes in and I ask them a question and they're generous with a story that fits that question, and I can just sit back and listen, because I will just listen for something in their answer to go to the next question. I try to be that when I'm being interviewed.
Yeah.
So I enjoy both, but I think being an interviewer as much as I am has made me a better interviewee, because I know what I want whenever I'm interviewing.
Sure.
So I try to do that.
Yeah. Well, you did.
No, thanks. I appreciate that.
Bobby Bones, man, it was an absolute
Yeah,
pleasure.
are you kidding?
Thank you for
next
taking
time,
the
if you like,
I'll send a voice note
within
next
like
time,
three,
all right? I'm
within
sorry.
like 3
I'll
days.
make sure that there's tone implied.
It's like, back in the days, like, don't respond to somebody after you go on a date for 2 days. We never went on a date. You didn't respond for 2 days. It was a bizarre feeling. I'm used to it. It made me feel like I was in junior high again, except you weren't a girl. You were a dude that I was going to work with, but I got nothing back. And that's showbiz, baby.
It was like 40 minutes.
That's showbiz, baby.
40 minutes. Give it up for Bobby Bones, everyone.
Hold on.
Come on.
Hold on. I have one more thing to say. 40 minutes after it said red.
I was on the phone
end.
with the guy who set it up.
Give it up for Bobby Bones, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give it up for Bobby Bones.